The first footage I bought the camera at a yard sale on a Sunday morning that smelled like rain. The old man selling it told me it still worked, though he wouldn't take money for it. Said he just wanted it gone. It was a VHS-C camcorder, the kind that looked like a miniature coffin. Black, heavy, scratched with age. A sticker on the side said Panasonic 1992. I didn't need another antique, but something about it felt magnetic. I brought it home, wiped off the dust, and slipped in a blank tape I found in the box. When I pressed play, the small screen lit up with static, crackling softly like a whispering throat. At first, it showed ordinary static noise, the kind you'd expect on old tapes. But then, a shape began to form, a room. Not my room. It looked like a mirror version, same walls, same shelves, but off somehow. The furniture was rearranged. The light came from an angle that didn't exist, and in the center of the frame, there was someone sitting in a chair, someone who looked like me. He wasn't moving. His head hung low, his hands limp in his lap. I laughed nervously at first, assuming it was an old recording, maybe something filmed by the camera's previous owner. But as I leaned closer to the screen, the figure on the tape raised his head and smiled. I dropped the camcorder. The video kept playing, even though it wasn't connected to power anymore. My double stared directly into the lens. The sound warped, a low hum rising from deep in the machine. The figure whispered something, but the audio was backward, garbled. I rewound it, tried again. Same distortion. Then, the image began to shake violently, colors bleeding into each other, the walls bending. I turned the camera toward my living room, hit record, and then looked back at the display. The screen didn't match reality. In the feed, the lights in my house were flickering, though they weren't in real life. The shadows in the corners were deeper, moving, like the darkness was breathing. And there, standing behind my couch, was the figure again. I spun around. The room was empty. When I turned back to the screen, he was closer, almost filling the frame now, his face pale and trembling like a bad transmission. His eyes were too dark, too deep. The tape began to warble, the video glitching in time with my heartbeat. Then the camera spoke, a distorted voice, like a dozen people whispering through the same throat. Don't stop recording. I dropped it again. The sound cut off immediately. The second it hit the floor, everything in my apartment went silent. Even the hum of the refrigerator stopped. For a long time, I didn't move, just listened to the quiet. Finally, I picked up the camera, hands shaking, and pressed rewind. When I played the footage back, my stomach twisted. The recording showed my living room, but not how it was. The walls were cracked, the furniture overturned, and behind me, on the playback, my double was standing inches away from my shoulder, whispering into my ear. I turned to look, nothing. But then, from the tiny speaker, his voice came again. You filmed it once. Now it's filming you. The screen went black, and in the silence that followed, I could swear I heard the faint click of a record button somewhere in the dark. The second recording I didn't sleep that night. The sound of that voice, you filmed it once. Now it's filming you, kept replaying in my head like a broken record. By morning, I had convinced myself it was just interference. Some weird tape overlay. Maybe I'd scared myself into seeing things that weren't there. But when I walked into the living room, the camcorder was gone. I had left it on the coffee table the night before. I was sure of it. I searched every inch of the apartment, drawers, closets, even under the bed. Nothing. Then, from somewhere deep inside the walls, I heard a click. The sound of a record button. It came again, dot click, dot pause, dot click. Like someone was recording and stopping, over and over. I followed the sound to the living room wall, a one behind the TV. My hand shook as I pressed my ear against it. There was movement. Shuffling, faint but unmistakable, like someone pacing behind the plaster. I grabbed a hammer from the drawer and started pulling the drywall apart. Dust filled the air. Beneath the first layer, I found something black wedged between the studs, the camcorder. It was still on. The small red light blinked steadily, recording. But the lens wasn't facing outward. It was pointed inward, toward the wall. I pulled it free, my heart pounding, and replayed the latest tape. The screen showed me not sleeping. It had filmed me in my bedroom, tossing, turning, mumbling in my sleep. The date and time on the tape said 3:14 a.m., only a few hours earlier. But I had locked my bedroom door last night. The recording zoomed in slowly toward my face as I slept. And just before the frame cut to static, something else crawled into view from the corner of the room. A hand not human. Long, stretched fingers like roots, slick with something dark. It reached for my shoulder. The static swallowed the moment, but before it did, a whisper slipped through the speaker. "He's almost through." I slammed the stop button. I didn't even realize I was crying until my hands slipped on the wet surface of the camera. I wanted to destroy it, to smash it to pieces. But part of me, some sick, curious part, needed to know what was happening. I replayed the beginning of the tape again. This time, I noticed something I hadn't before. Behind me, in the shadows of the bedroom, there was movement, like the shape of a doorway that didn't belong there. A faint light flickered from within, pulsing. Every few seconds, I could see another version of my room on the other side, darker and more decayed. It wasn't a reflection. It was a passage. That night, I set the camera on the tripod facing my bedroom again. I hit record. Then I sat in front of it, staring into the lens for what felt like hours, waiting for something, anything, to happen. At exactly 3:14 a.m., the camera light flickered. The air grew cold. My breath fogged in front of me. On the tiny flip screen, I saw movement behind me again, a shape, a shadow that wasn't mine. I turned slowly and froze. There, at the foot of my bed, was him. My double. Only now, he looked wrong, his skin cracked, like glass holding back liquid darkness. His eyes were too wide, too black. His head twitched in sharp, unnatural motions. He raised a finger to his lips. The camera cut to static. When it came back, I was gone from the frame. Just the empty room, the bed, the flickering light. And my voice, whispering from somewhere off-screen. He is filming from the other side now. The other side of the lens. I woke up on the floor, my head pounding. The camera was still recording, its low battery light blinking red like a heartbeat. The last thing I remembered was him. The cracked version of me standing in the dark, his voice like static in my ear. The clock read 6:42 a.m. The sun was rising, but my apartment didn't feel right. The colors were off, muted, washed out, as though someone had drained the life from everything. The hum of the refrigerator was slower. The ticking of the wall clock came a half-second too late. Even my own breathing sounded muffled. like I was hearing it through a layer of glass. At first, I thought I was just dizzy or half asleep. Then I saw the window. Outside wasn't my street. Where the city skyline should have been, there was only fog, thick, white, endless. A faint shape stood in the mist, tall and spindly, watching the building. When I blinked, it was gone. I turned back to the camera. The screen still displayed the feed from last night, looping over and over, me sitting on the bed, staring at the lens. But now the feed had changed. The walls behind my on-screen self were cracked and blackened, like they'd been burned. My reflection in the feed didn't move in sync with me anymore. It lagged, watching me with a delay. Then it smiled. Do you see it now? Its mouth moved, but no sound came from the speaker. I only felt the words, deep in my chest, vibrating. I shut off the camera, but the lens wouldn't retract. The motor whirred and clicked like it was resisting me. When I opened the battery compartment to pull the cell out, it was gone. Just empty space. I set the camera down on the table, my pulse hammering. That's when the walls began to breathe. The wallpaper rippled like skin. The paint bubbled in spots, stretching outward as if something underneath was pushing to get through. From behind it came the faint sound of whispering. Dozens of voices, overlapping in a language I couldn't understand. I backed toward the door, but when I opened it, there was no hallway. Just a long corridor of flickering lights that went on forever, and every few seconds, between the flickers, I could see shapes. Figures standing perfectly still, turned toward me. The air was colder here, not the kind of cold that bites, but the kind that drains. I couldn't tell how long I walked. The lights buzzed overhead in a constant rhythm, and with every flicker, the figures were closer. Finally, I reached another door. I pushed it open and stepped into my living room again. Everything was normal. The light was warm. My street outside was back. But the camera was still on the table, and on its screen was the feed ID just lived. Me walking through that endless corridor, the shapes following behind me. But now, something new was visible. In the background of the feed, through the flickering lights, a doorway glowed, and beyond it, I could see my real apartment, my real world, bathed in the soft yellow of morning. The feed zoomed in on that doorway, the one that led back here. And then the camera whispered, in my own voice. It's still open. I turned to the wall behind me, and there it was. A thin black slit, like a wound in the air. Inside, faint light flickered, showing glimpses of that same decayed version of my home. My cracked reflection moved inside it, matching my every gesture, but half a second late. I tried to back away, but the air around the slit pulled at me, tugging gently like a current. My hair lifted, drawn toward it. The hum of electricity filled the room. The slit widened, and from inside it, a hand reached out, long, sharp, pale. Not my hand. It was his. The other me. He smiled through the distortion, whispering the words that chilled my blood, trade places. The lights in my apartment flickered. The hum became a roar. The camera on the table began recording again on its own. The slit pulsed wider until the edges bled light. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in front of the camera again. Only this time, the world outside my window was fog once more. The walls were scorched. My reflection on the screen wasn't delayed anymore. It was perfectly in sync. Except for one thing. When I blinked, It didn't. And it smiled. The transmission bleeds through the world feels thinner now. It's like the air itself is stretched tight, vibrating under pressure. Every sound, every light flicker, every heartbeat feels recorded. Like I'm walking inside a tape that's slowly degrading. For a while, I just sit on the floor, staring at the camera. It's still rolling, its lens trained on me. I don't dare move. If I move, maybe it'll follow. If it follows, maybe he'll notice. My reflection in the lens is smiling again. When I raise my hand, it raises its own, exactly as before but a split second early. Like it already knows what I'll do next. When I blink, it doesn't. When I whisper, it mouths the words before I speak them. It knows me better than I know myself. Then, something changes. The camera screen flickers. Static ripples across the display, forming shapes, symbols, frames of something else. At first, it's just flashes, a street I don't recognize, a house that looks almost like mine, but older, decayed. Then faces, people I've never seen before, staring straight into the lens. Their mouths open in unison, whispering something soundless. When I lean closer, a faint hum emerges from the camera, a distorted signal, like a detuned radio searching for a station. The words begin to take shape. "We see you seeing US." I stumble back. The static grows harsher, almost alive. The shapes on the screen blur together, forming a single shadow with too many limbs. It presses against the inside of the lens, stretching the glass outward as if trying to break through. Then the camera emits a high-pitched whine. The room trembles, and for a heartbeat, a single, perfect heartbeat, the world folds. The floor ripples. The ceiling peels backward like film melting under heat. Behind every wall, there's another wall, darker, rotting, vibrating with pale movement. I see the fog world bleeding into mine, power lines tangled like veins, clouds pulsing like living tissue, street lights flickering to the rhythm of something breathing. When it stops, everything looks normal again. But the air still hums. The TV in the corner switches on by itself. There's no broadcast, just that low emergency tone, the same tone used during weather alerts. Only this time, the message scrolling across the bottom isn't English. It's fragmented, jagged text that warps as I read it. Transmission achieved. Sender located. Copy initializing. I grab the remote and turn it off, but the tone doesn't stop. It's coming from everywhere now. The lights, the refrigerator, even the pipes in the wall. The whole building is resonating, like the frequency is alive. The camera jerks on its own, turning toward the window. Outside, the fog has returned, thicker, pulsing like lungs. I can make out silhouettes moving in it. Dozens of them. Tall, skeletal, twitching in half frames, as if only existing every other second of time. And then I hear it, the sound that freezes me where I stand. My own voice, coming from the fog. "Let me in." I back away, whispering, "No, no, no." But the sound grows clearer. The window begins to bulge inward, the glass warping under invisible pressure. My voice again. "It's your turn." The camera zooms on its own, the lens tightening until it's focused entirely on the window. The glass begins to crack. The reflection on the screen shows not one version of me anymore, but two standing side by side. One smiles. The other screams. The walls round me start to hum in unison. the frequency rising to a pitch that feels like it's drilling into my skull. The slit in the air from before opens again, this time wider, flickering with light from that other world. Inside, I see him, the other me. His head tilts slightly, the skin round his eyes tearing as he grins. His voice is layered, distorted, echoing from inside the camera speakers. You've been recording too long. Now it's our turn. I scream and throw the camera at the floor. It doesn't break, it glitches. The world round it ripples, and suddenly everything begins to record backward. My breath pulls back into my lungs. The lights unflicker. The cracks in the window seal themselves. The sound rewinds until silence. The world is still. And then, the camera, cracked but still glowing, plays one final clip. Me standing in front of the slit, reaching toward it with a smile that isn't mine. Recording complete, the feed cuts to black. Then, faintly, from behind me, the sound of the record button clicking again. Click, pause, click. The recording never ends. The camera lies shattered on the floor. Its red light, impossibly, is still blinking. I don't remember falling asleep, but when my eyes open, daylight is pouring through the blinds. Everything looks normal. To normal, the colors are perfect again. Maybe even brighter than before, for the first time in days. There's silence. No hum. No whispering. No distorted air. For a few moments, I actually believe it's over. I sweep up the fragments of the camera, trying not to touch the cracked lens. Each piece feels warm, almost alive. I toss the remains into a garbage bag, then drag it down the hallway toward the trash chute. When I open the door, something inside stops me cold. The chute is gone. In its place is a rectangular opening, the same exact size and shape as the camera screen. Beyond it, the air ripples like water, and faintly, from within, I hear my voice testing. 1, 2, recording. I step closer, the garbage bag slipping from my hand. Inside that liquid shimmer, I see a room that looks exactly like mine. Same couch, same broken lamp, same stain on the carpet, except I'm not there. Instead, sitting on the floor where I should be is another me. His skin pale, hair damp, eyes hollow. He's staring straight at the opening, straight at me. He waves once. The moment his hand moves, the entire building trembles. Lights flicker overhead, stuttering in random bursts. From every apartment, I hear voices, hundreds of overlapping versions of my own, repeating words I can't make out. The air smells like burnt plastic and salt. I stumble backward, slam my apartment door shut, and press my ear to it. On the other side, faint static hisses, and then laughter. Not malicious, not human. Just laughter that's slightly off-pitch, looped wrong. I grab my phone and turn on the camera. At first, nothing unusual. Just the wall. Then, the image flickers once, twice, and I see something that makes my stomach drop. In the phone's live view, I'm gone. The camera still shows the room, but I'm missing. The couch, the lamp, the walls, all there. Just not me. Then, the image starts moving. The camera tilts on its own, panning toward the floor, where I should be standing. And slowly, from the bottom of the frame, a pair of feet step into view. Bare. Wet. The voice from the phone whispers softly, perfectly calm. You're on the wrong side now. The world round me vibrates, like a reel of film tearing in slow motion. Shadows lengthen unnaturally across the walls, bending toward the lens. I drop the phone, and as it hits the floor, I see the reflection on the screen. Me. But not me. Leaning in close, smiling. He picks up the phone, looks directly into the camera. Smile for the upload, and suddenly, everything freezes. The sound cuts out. The air stops moving. The lights hang mid-flicker. Then, without warning, I'm standing outside .daylight.birds. My street again. Everything's normal. My camera is gone. My phone is gone. My reflection in a nearby car window looks perfectly fine. For a moment, I even laugh. Maybe I finally broke. Maybe it was all in my head. Then I notice the people round me. They're all still. Not frozen, paused. Their chests rise, but their eyes don't move. Each one stares blankly forward, as if waiting for something. A low hum begins to build in the distance, the familiar tone of an emergency alert. A nearby digital billboard flickers to life. And words appear across it in white text on black. Transmission successful. Reality backup. Complete. The billboard shifts to static, then resolves into an image. Me, smiling, staring straight into the camera. I feel my mouth move, but not by choice. Thank you for watching. The world starts to dim. Color bleeding away. Light dissolving into noise. The ground vibrates beneath my feet and from the sky above. I see hundreds of red lights blinking in unison. Not stars, not planes. Lenses dot recording. I scream, but no sound comes out. The hum grows deafening, swallowing everything. Then silence. For a moment, all that exists is the faint red blink of a camera light dot blink dot pause dot blink. And then, from somewhere far away, or maybe right next to me, a whisper, "Your footage has been uploaded." The light blinks one final time, and the world cuts to black. End transmission.